Hello and welcome to the Business Spotlight interview series. I'm your host Sonali Nigam, and today I'm joined by Greg Hancock, MD at Rounded Edge. Hi, Greg. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Sonali. Great to meet you. Great to be here.
Pleasure is all mine, Greg. Thank you so much. Would you like to kick us off with a brief background as to who you are and what you do?
Yes. So, Greg Hancock. I'm the owner, founder, MD of Rounded Edge Limited. We are business focused on governance and assurance of Microsoft application delivery. So that's Microsoft Dynamics, Copilot, and Power Platform, and essentially work with organizations that are going through their transformation process in implementing that software. And we provide a whole assurance process around that. We do assessments across where they are as a business and where they are in the program, and we take them through and guide them through that process, working on behalf of the client, but working with also the system implementer and the vendor, Microsoft in this instance as well.
Greg, that's just amazing. We were talking about your business, I mean, just before the interview, and I was so amazed to know so much about it. So, what do you attribute your growth to?
So the growth, we're as a relatively new business. It's really been about my network and the networking that I've done over the years and the ground that I put in place before really launching the business. So it was a 2-year effort to build the foundation of the business, but then work within my network and within my network's network to help grow that business. But the other part is about really about being honest and building a trusted relationship with clients and growing that and delivering real value through that honesty and that approach. So I've created a number of values within the business, which will be published on our website quite soon, which is all about providing an honest and a lot of integrity in our approach, which then tends to sort of grow from there. So we look to really build trusted relationships with our clients and with our network, and then that allows us to grow and build on that foundation rather than what the opposite of that might be.
That's just great. So, what would you say as our biggest learning as an owner of the business running successfully?
So the main thing would be around the many hats that you have to wear in doing the business. So working in the business and working on the business are two very, very separate things. It's a consultancy business, so I have to operate on behalf of my clients and work within my clients. So there's doing the job, but then freeing up and having enough time to run the business and grow the business as well. So yeah, the biggest learning is really knowing that you have to wear multiple hats all the time. Manager, consultant, accountant, everything all the way through. And I'd say the second thing is around the journey. So I've talked to a lot of friends and colleagues over the years about starting a business, and it's always about we'll set up a business and we'll sell it in 5 years or 10. But it's very quick realization that it's not about that. It's about the hard work that goes in, and that might be a nice outcome at the end of it, but it's the journey, not necessarily the destination.
No, quite interesting, and some honest, thoughts that you've shared here. It's just not about, selling in next 5 years. It's also about the amount of hard work that goes to build that brand. So
Yeah.
completely agree. So I want to ask this question. So where do you see the business in next 5 years?
So really, its current form is a consultancy business to assure the transformations that our clients are going through. But I see there being other channels that we develop into. So potential of developing a SaaS product that supports those implementations. Maybe that's through training or learning or something along those lines, or developing a kind of recurring service that we can charge out on a subscription type basis. So core is about consultancy. It's about people with deep knowledge, deep skills supporting these implementations, but it's about then developing a business model that has other pillars of revenue that can be maybe recurring going forward. So it's looking for those opportunities. It's not just sort of launching something into the market that maybe isn't needed or isn't right. It's about looking for those opportunities throughout the growth, but growing the business to within 10 years to essentially have a significant size business that, there may be an exit strategy or a different strategy after that for myself, but building something that primarily delivers value in an area where I think there is a need in the market. I mean, the market space that I operate in is that there are challenging deliveries of very expensive systems that aren't going right. People investing a lot of money in projects and sort of years down the line saying, we're not getting the value out of that system. So the need is there. And I want to fill that gap. I want to be able to ensure that the systems that I've been working within for the last nearly 20 years are realizing the value that customers are investing into them. And that's the core of it, is ensuring that customers are getting the value out of their investment, which at the moment there is a slightly disparate broken system and chain of system right the way from vendor through to system implementer and clients' engagement and clients' knowledge of the system. So we fill that gap. So I want that to be the core, is that we're providing a really needed service that fills that gap, and then we'll grow from there.
To be honest, yes, the customer is the king. So yes. Fulfilling the needs and the requirements for the customer to exactly what they're looking for is exactly what every business wants. Now, we need to make sure that the interview is full of learning. So what challenges are you facing currently in your business, and how do you address them?
The biggest one, well, first one is my own thoughts and controlling those. And as a new business, it's, we should be doing this, we should be doing that, and changing and wanting to grow and want to drive revenue over the foundation, which is about trust and delivering value. So if I run away with my thoughts in terms of building revenue, then it tends to sort of come to quite a quick dead end. And I need to bring myself back to my foundations of what am I trying to achieve, and what am I, and then grow from those foundations rather than a revenue point of view. So that's one big thing. The other one, it's built around that is growth versus resources and availability. So as a new business, essentially, I'm the product. I've got an employee that supports me, and we can grow from there. But there becomes a time where that resource becomes limited, and we need to backfill and bring the right people in, who are obviously potentially quite expensive if they're experienced in the market. So it's always, the amount of work versus the amount of people we've got available, and how we balance that, and how we deliver real value to the customer. Because there's no point just bringing in people that aren't skilled and experienced enough to do the job that we're, as a business, pertaining to do. And part of that is developing our framework and our model, which is constantly evolving, but we've developed a framework that is essentially repeatable and can have different levels of governance. So that helps us balance out that resource issue and bring in the right people.
You've talked about an important aspect, which is people, the employees that you work with. And I think they are so crucial to any business. So what qualities do you look for in employees when you hire them, and how do you foster a positive and a productive work environment?
So the key qualities are what role you're trying to hire into, or also around the bringing skills into the business that I don't necessarily have, or skill gaps that need to be filled. So the realization that, as a business owner, you can't do everything. I'm not a brilliant accountant or bookkeeper, so bringing somebody in with that skill, somebody that can really drive business sales or business growth, and building a team for me is filling those skill gaps, and not just more Greg Hancocks in the business, because that's then there's always going to be a skill gaps, and also just just not hiring people for people's sake. So that's the core thing, is about identifying where the skill gaps are and bringing people that are maybe very different from me, or very, very different, but they have that skill set that needs to be filled, and embracing them and bringing them into the business, and their opinion being as valid as my opinion or anyone else's opinion in the business, because they see things from a slightly different angle, or they have a different approach to things. So that's the key thing. The other point is, you can hire for a role. If you've got a specific role, it's key that you find the attributes that person can fill that role. And sometimes you can get drawn into, when you're hiring for a role, is that you really like someone, or you get on very well with them, but you've got to readdress, actually, these are the attributes I need. It's not just the person that I get on with. I need somebody that's very analytical, or and hiring for that role. But then the other approach is, when I'm just hiring into the business, so hiring my business managers, is you meet someone who's got skills and ability and potential, and it's about getting them into the business. They might not necessarily be in the right role at the right time, but getting them on the bus and getting them on the journey, and then helping that evolve. So my business manager, Fatima, who works with me, she's fairly sort of new, wanted to progress in her career into consulting and project management. So we brought her in, and now she's getting visibility of all ends of the business, from running the business on my side through to consulting as well. And it's essentially going to evolve where she fits into the business, but she's delivering great value because she's got so much talent and so many skills as well. So yeah, there's a lot of different facets, but as I say, getting different skills in the business, and different types of opinion, hiring for a role, and making sure you are hiring those attributes if it is for a specific role. But then also the other side of thing is bringing good people on board and letting them evolve and grow into the business as well. And it's balancing all of those things. From my perspective, it's about creating that environment that enables people to grow, enables people to develop their skills, but also provide value to the business where we want to as well.
That's quite in fact, very important in any business, to get those right people with those right skills. We've talked about various aspects about your business and about the people. Now, touching on your personal aspect, how do you balance, your personal life with the demands of running a business? How do you strike that perfect balance?
Well, it's challenging. I'm a single parent 50% of the time, so I have quite a lot of challenges in that area. As my children have got older, it's become easier, and I've sort of recently find accepting more help is a key thing, or, for example, paying for more help. So getting my daughter who's 16, allowing her to get an Uber back from school, because there's no other transport options available, rather than me taking an hour out of the day to go and pick her up. That I'd never done before, but by sort of allowing myself to think, well, the value of the cost of an Uber versus the value of me putting that extra time into work really freed up my time. And I had to really think about that, and really give myself permission to sort of do that, obviously, with my daughter being comfortable in that environment. But the other side, and it is about when you need to shut off, actually saying, stop thinking about this now. You're going to sit down, you're allowed to stop thinking about work for 5 minutes, go and take a break, and giving yourself permission to stop. Otherwise you just keep going. But equally so, if you're trying to stop and you're trying to relax and do something that isn't work, and you're constantly thinking about it, also saying to yourself, do you know what, work's more important. Go and stop doing that personal thing that you're doing. Go and crack on, and do some work as well. And it's a strange thing for me. It's like I have to almost have a little chat with myself and say, do you know what, this is where your mind's at, go and do that thing, or do you know what, it's time to take a break and really manage that as well.
Lot of self-talk, Greg. I completely see that, and that's quite interesting and inspirational. So, I'm sure our audience have learned and picked up so many things. Is there any closing remark before we wrap up that you would like to share with the audience, or maybe a golden nugget?
A golden nugget. I think really, I'm very happy to be on this journey. I've been an employee in corporate businesses for a long time prior to launching my own business, and it's like a whole new world has opened up for me. Working for myself and working and building something in the brand for my own business. So I really, saying this for myself, for anybody that's listening, it's enjoy the journey and take some risks. And actually, when you break out of that barrier of the comfort zone of a salary, it's amazing how many doors open and how inspired you can feel every single day, beyond the next salary and the boss's demands and the corporate demands and all the rest of it.
So true, and your happiness was felt entirely in the podcast. So, Greg, thank you so much for your time today. It was great meeting you and learning so much about your journey. And to everyone watching, I look forward to see you in my next episode. Thank
Thank you,
you.
Sonali. Cheers.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you. Cheers.